Hi folks, today's video is a little different. It's an MRE video, but this is about MREs as a whole. Where they're from, how they're made. Usually we do tasting videos. Today's going to give you a little bit more of a, not a deep dive, but a slight dive into the history of them and the current state of them. So stick around. There's a brand new case. It's a full case. 2025 inspection date means it's packed in 2022, pretty fresh. We're going to open this up, take a look at it, go into a few different things, and stick around. Should be interesting. Thanks. So here we are. We've got a full case of MREs, meals ready to eat. Meals ready to eat. I'm going to just give you a real quick read on this off the Defense Logistics Agency site. They're designed to sustain an individual engaged in heavy activities such as military training or during actual military operations when normal food service facilities are not available. The MRE's totally self-contained operational ration consisting of a full meal packed in a flexible meal bag. The full bag is lightweight and fits easily into military field clothing pockets. Each meal bag contains an entree and a variety of other components. The current production year, menus 1 to 12 are designated Case A. Meals 13 to 24 are Case B. This is a Case A, and we'll flip it over here. Take a look. The date of packing is a little different than the inspection date. So the date of packing, this is 2022, and it was packed on the 290th day, so partway through the year. Each packer, and this one is from Sopaco in South Carolina, they're in charge of sourcing some of the food, usually the entree and one of the other foods in the soft bags. And then they'll go to outside suppliers for things like bread, muffins, peanut butter, jelly, cheese, things like that. And you'll see that as we move along here. This is a time and temperature indicator. And if you look at it, if a lot of people call it a bullseye, you've got your gray outer ring, your orange inner ring that matches this. When it's orange on the inside, everything has been stored in a good temperature and humidity regime. Usually under 75 degrees. If these are stored at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, after about 3 years, this orange center might change to a light gray. If it's stored in really hot conditions, that center dot would turn black. But typically, you're looking at 3 years from the date that it was packed to the inspection date. The inspection date was October this year. This is now early December. You look at it, 3 years gone by, everything's really fine, in fine shape. So what we're going to do is bust this guy open. And, boy, it is tight. It is really tight. These boxes are heavy duty. And the MREs are, because they're going to be used in the field, a lot of times people are going to go into the field and they might not have the food with them, and the food's going to get delivered to them. Maybe out of a helicopter, maybe out of a plane. These things, the cases are not usually dropped individually. They're going to be dropped on a pallet. There's going to be 48 cases to a pallet, and 24 will be menu A, 24 will be menu B, so you've got 12 different meals that are rotated through. And as you can see, this rascal's really in here tight. Let's see what we got. So, we've had a little bit of a wrestling match there. This is the meal that we're going to open up down in the kitchen area. Menu 8, meatballs and marinara sauce. All the other meals are going to be popped back into the case, and normally they will sit some up, some down. We'll put the other 11 meals back in here, and we'll get going with a little bit more here in a second. Now we'll talk a little bit more about the MRE and how it came to be. There's a lab that the Army uses in the town of Natick Labs in Massachusetts. They do all kinds of food research on sustainable food that's set for the field. They also do research on things like camouflage, clothing, how clothing will wear and tear, and whether it's waterproof, things of that nature. But after a number of years, the U.S. Army had been packing first K rations and then meal combat individual, which is called by the, and please, I'm going to say soldiers a lot rather than personnel. I don't mean just soldiers. I also include sailors, airmen, and Marines. The Marines probably eat a heck of a lot of MREs since they're in the field without too much support sometimes. So when you had an old meal combat individual, it was in a cardboard box about this size, but instead of things being in plastic pouches, plastic World War II in Korea was way different than plastics that have been developed since then. You had cans. You had a can about as big around as this coffee cup, and it would be filled up with crackers. You had another can like that. It was going to have usually like a fruit cocktail or something. You had another can, that was your meat spread. And that included also were things that you still see, like toilet paper, and sometimes you get matches now, sometimes you don't. Interestingly enough, you used to have a little packet of cigarettes. It was like little 4 cigarettes in a little sleeve, and that was to keep people's morale up back when a whole lot of folks in the U.S. smoked. It was normal in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Move forward, and eventually, once Vietnam got going, the C rations were, not that well fitted for a real wet climate where you got monsoon rains all the time. But MREs didn't really come around until after Vietnam was over. In 1975, the Defense Department at that time authorized bringing out MREs. They looked very different than this. I'm going to show you a picture up here, and credit goes to MREinfo.com. I borrowed that picture from them. If you watch some of my really old videos, you probably see some of those old brown bags. They were dark brown, almost as dark as the graphics here. Logos, black printing. In low light, you almost had no idea what you had. Even in good light, it was a little hard to see. But they were first released in about 1981. There was only 6 different meals that you had a choice between, which was pretty limited. Later in the 80s, there was a spread of 12 meals. And so you'd have 12 meals in one case. Oh, by the way, you saw me open that case. It was quite a mess getting that thing out. But I didn't want to spend too much time just showing every different meal that was in there. I picked out menu 8 because I know what's in this, and there's going to be some good stuff in there. 1988, 9 of the 12 meals got replaced from feedback that they got from different soldiers. When 1994 came around, commercial graphics like this. They went to the tan bags. They had more interesting looking graphics. They want to make these meals look as good as possible on the inside and outside to people that are eating them, because some people get a little bit picky, and they found at first, back in the early 80s, that most people deployed were only eating about 60% of the calories presented to them. You're looking at 1,250 calories on average in here. 13% of that's going to be protein, 36% fat, and then about 51% carbohydrates also. After the Gulf War, the MREs were originally designed to feed people for about 10 days in a row, and then hopefully there'd be a different food source available. Either the branch of the military would have a food kitchen set up, something like that. But at times in the Gulf War, people were eating MREs for 60 days, and after that, the folks up at the Natick Labs went ahead and boosted the military daily human content, so that when you get 3 of these in a day, each one has a third of the vitamins and minerals that you need to have a full balanced diet. Like I said, these things are designed, they'd put a pallet, they'd rig it up, and put it on the back of a plane, back of a helicopter. You'd have 48 cases of these things on a pallet, and they'd push it out, parachute, and it could drop from 1,250 feet without destroying the meals. And by that, I mean these things weren't supposed to burst. The shock might break your crackers, or it might mess up your cookie in there, but hopefully none of the interior components are going to break. They're also designed that they could be pushed out of a low-flying helicopter at 100 feet, and those boxes are not supposed to bust when they hit the ground. It's a very sturdy box. And if they did have some damage, the meals are still supposed to be safe. I don't know if I'd want to be eating a week's worth that got thrown out from 100 feet without a parachute, but it will sustain you. It might not be really pretty. So that's what you've got. Like I said, this is in the mid-90s, they tried to make the peelable seals a little bit easier to work. I'm having a little bit of a time with my wrist today with my thumb. It got jammed up. So I'm going to just cut this open, but you got a heavy-duty polyethylene bag. Thing's waterproof, and it's durable, and you can use it to pack out trash. You can use it to wrap up stuff that you think is a little funky, and use it after you had your meal. What we're going to do is just slice through here. Yeah. Like so. And then everything inside is wrapped in another package. Oh, by the way, all right, I'm looking for a date code on this. Some meals, some years, have a date code stamped on top here, like I was saying with the box upstairs. There is no date code on this. Yeah, there is. That's on the bottom of the bag. Things are not always consistent. So this reads that it's 2022 and the 284th day. See that right there? So the whole box was packed on the 290th day, so this has been just packed up while they were getting stuff ready to box it up. Out of this tough bag, and that is tough, you got everything else assembled in another bag. These components are also individually dated, and there's a couple different ways that they pack these. This was Sopaco who did this. So whoever actually cooked the entree and the side, and this is our meatballs and marinara sauce, if you can see that. It's 192. So this was packed about 100 days before everything was put together in a bag and then in a box. Typically, this is going to go into a MRE heater, which is a flameless ration heater. It's a device, I'll get it out here, that has a bag, and in that bag is powdered magnesium and actually a little bit of iron and salt. So you only fill it up to the bottom here with a little bit of water, just whatever temperature water you got, cold water, warm water. Within about 10 minutes, it should heat up by about 100 degrees. So that's the idea. We're going to go ahead and, actually I think I'm going to wet this first and then pop it in. So definitely want the meatballs to be hot. Got a beef stick here. We got blueberry cobbler. I kind of like my blueberry cobbler hot too. And again, here you see a date. This is second day, or the 2022, 230th day. So we're going to we're going to pull out the heater. This is what it looks like. Looks for MagTech. Do not eat. Yeah, it goes up 100 degrees in 10 minutes. I don't think you'd want to eat this thing. So we're going to take this. We're going to look in our accessory pouch, and we do have salt, in our accessory packet. So we're going to take the salt out. This has been packed for 3 years. I don't necessarily need additional salt in my diet today, but if you're in the field sweating quite a bit, you might want to put it in. But the salt, there is salt already in this, but a little extra salt sometimes helps it to react a little bit faster and a little bit hotter. So I'm going to dump that in there. We'll put the blueberry stuff on one side, and then jam the meatballs in the other side. Okay, we've got things pretty much to the bottom. I'm going to have to shake it around a little bit with the water, but I've got a couple ounces of water here in the measuring cup. I've got it filled to the line. Then you just fold it over and you want to shake it around. The chemical reaction will start pretty quickly once that heater is thoroughly soaked. And if it's a real fresh hot heater, a lot of times it'll get going almost immediately. You normally do, by the way, everything's marked with calories, fat, salt, everything else. The meatballs, they don't mark it on there because they put it on this. This is a cardboard sleeve to keep this in and keep it from burning something. And then they also put all the information for the cherry blueberry cobbler. I am really looking forward to that. I'm sure that's going to be delicious. A little bit skeptical. Not feeling any heat yet, but we'll put it in here. Give it 10 minutes and then see what's... Oh, now I feel some heat. Yep. Yeah, you got some on here. All right. There it is, packed up. We're going to put it on the edge of our handy-dandy Italian military surplus tray. Now, in addition, like I said, these things are meant to be eaten in the field. A lot of times people are going to be in the field for a couple days. They're not going to have access to a tray, necessarily to a cup, although they might have a good cup with their canteen, or a glass. This is a carbohydrate electrolyte beverage powder orange. You can fill this up, shake it, drink it straight from the bag. We're going to put it in a glass. And our MRE spoon. If you've watched my other videos in the past, a lot of times you'll see that I'll take one of these entrees, and the entree, it has a tear tab that goes like that. Well, I usually pour the food into the tray, and so I tear it off at the top. It makes it a lot cleaner and easier. But if you don't have a tray to eat it from and you're in the field, if you tried to go this way, you can see that spoon's not going to be long enough to get all the food. If you go in sideways, that's why they put that tear tab where they put it. So we've got this electrolyte powder, and let's see. And this is basically kind of similar to Gatorade. You've got 90 calories, no fat, no cholesterol, 130 milligrams of sodium, that's your electrolyte, 22 grams of sugar. So it's probably gonna look and smell a little bit like Gatorade. In the old days, a lot of times you'd see salt tablets. And just a salt tablet, you know, if you don't choke it down just right and it gets stuck in your throat, or if you've ever gargled with hot salt water when you got a sore throat, you know that it's not the most tasty thing, but hey, you throw in some fake orange color, some fake orange flavor, and some sugar, and you've got Gatorade. It's got electrolytes. Just like they say on the movie Idiocracy. So you've got a sweet, slightly salty beverage. It's pretty refreshing. Over here, got our cheese spread. And as I said, Sopaco is the major packer. They bring everything together. They put in bids on Army contracts, military contracts, and right here they're thanking you for your service in the field. This is put together by the Welcome Dairy Company up in Colby, Wisconsin. Colby cheese, all that. After a couple of years, and this has been sitting in a pretty cool room, the cheese is a little bit stiff. But one of the claims to fame that the labs up in Massachusetts have is that they invented processed cheese. So you wouldn't have your Cheese Whiz without the folks up at Natick Labs. They also developed freeze-dried coffee, certain reconstituted meats. So they claim that about 25% of American food in grocery stores has a sort of a family tie to their labs, which tells you how processed some of the food is that we eat. But the thing is, after 3 years, this, I can feel it. It's not chunky. It's still very creamy. I've had enough experience eating this stuff to know that cheese packed 3 years ago, airtight. Though the other thing I didn't mention is that most of these things, these thinner bags, compared to the old tins, if you had food in that tin, like meat, the only way that food's going to be properly preserved and sterilized is by heating that. And it would take, at low heat, which you don't want super high heat, at low heat it would probably take about 4 hours for that tin to be heated all the way through the middle. Whereas a long, slender package like that, the cook time is really a whole lot less. Same thing, cheese spread, they're going to pack it in here, but then they're going to do something to help it last a little bit. Chocolate chip cookie. And you can see the seal is nice and tight on this. They make a good chocolate chip cookie. 300 calories. Here we've got our Sterling Food Italian breadsticks. So our breadsticks are going to go with the cheese. 200 calories here. Let's see who made the cookie. Sterling Foods also. This was in Texas, so they source food from around the country. Going back to our accessory packet, for years and years and years and years, you've always had gum. Very standard thing. Something that's important that people need every day is toilet paper. It's not a lot of toilet paper, you know. They could probably double up on the amount, but that's very standard for decades now. You got a towelette for cleaning your hands before you eat your meal. And you got some matches. They're designed for damp climates. They're not waterproof. But what do you not see here? If you've been watching other MRE videos, normally for years, hot sauce has been part of the meal. A lot of times, if you don't quite like the food as it is, a little hot sauce will perk things up. And this was supposed to be, I thought this was supposed to be a accessory kit that had coffee with it, but apparently it does not. Most of the time, most of these meals give you 2 beverages. So normally you'd have coffee and then you'd have your isotonic drink or your energy drink, but it looks like we've only got 1 today. So, all right, so here's the chocolate chip cookie. You notice that the browns are not the same color on everything, but the dark brown, that was how things looked in the early 80s. Once Desert Storm started up and troops ended up in Iraq and Afghanistan, that was a whole lot darker than the soil around them, and so U.S. went over to a lighter colored bag there. So let's open this up. This has been cooked and vacuum sealed. And I got to tell you that my experience with these is they tend to really, nice big chocolate chunks in there. Got good crunch. Does not taste like, it tastes like something you could have bought yesterday at the grocery store. They're amazingly well preserved. Now, because this is over 1,200 calories, 2 meals would be enough for most average people if they're having an average day, if they're not really out working out and stuff like that. Let's try these Italian breadsticks. All these things, if you just catch it where it's sort of corrugated there, they're ripping open pretty easily. There's our breadsticks. It does have a fair amount of oregano. Yeah, it smells good. Let's see how it works with our cheese spread. The bread, very soft, not stale tasting at all. Got a lot of Italian seasoning in it. A lot of preservatives, but that's how it's still fresh after 3 years. And remember this, if the time temperature indicator on that box, these are probably still going to be in really good shape in 2 more years. Every few years, the folks at the labs will quiz troops on what they liked, what they didn't like. And every couple of years, usually 2 or 3 things will drop off of the 24 menus and they'll be replaced by new things. Currently, everything packed in 2022, menu A has, I think, a cheese pizza slice, and menu B of their 12 meals, there's a pepperoni pizza slice, and that's been a hot favorite for a while. These are good. Starting to get warmer. We'll do that probably another 5 minutes. And we'll just take a short break right now. Oh, by the way, teriyaki sticks. I love these dearly. I really do. It's like an oversized Slim Jim. I'm not going to eat this today. I'm going to save this. We're in the middle of deer season right now, and I'll probably be throwing that in the pack, take out in the woods, do some deer hunting. So Take a short break and be back here in a second. We're back and we're going to take a look at how the heater worked with these two different things, the meatballs and the cobbler. So we pull it out. A lot of times this will have a bit of a smell to it, a little bit of the smell from the magnesium, I think, but today, not so bad. This claims that, at least the Army claims, that this would heat up by about 100 degrees in 10 minutes. Currently, ambient room temperature on this meat thermometer, about 70 degrees. And I am going to tear this lengthwise, or actually I'll cut it because it'll make it a little bit cleaner. And I'll put the thermometer in. Let's see what kind of temperature we got. This looks really good. Ah, the meatballs. They seem always to do a good job with the Italian stuff, the spaghetti, the meatballs. It's slowly going up. We're looking at 80 degrees. I'll let it sit for about a minute. I don't truly expect it to be 170 degrees, but probably be over 100. It is warm to the touch, but not hot, not burning hot. The thermometer's been in here for a couple of minutes, and I'll zoom in a little bit. We're looking at 102.5. It's not a very fast read thermometer, but it is going up, but it seems like it's plateauing just over 102. So I'm going to back it back out here. Zoom it in a little bit. And wipe the thermometer off prior to washing it. I'm going to dump meatballs and marinara right in the tray here. It's a lot of meatballs. This looks good. I'm not going to measure the temperature on the cobbler. Since the cobbler was on one side of the heater and the meatballs were on the other side of the heater, I'm going to guess that they're both could be pretty close in temperature. It feels a little warmer, actually, but that's okay. I like cobbler hot. Now, if they could figure a way to put actual frozen ice cream in an MRE so that you could put cobbler with your ice cream, that would be killer. But hey, don't give up. Those guys up in Massachusetts, they're trying new stuff all the time, so maybe by 2030, troops will be in the field with, rather than something that just makes it hot, something that makes it super cold too. Now we've got some blueberry cherry cobbler. Just gotta throw away the packaging here. The heater. The elements are slightly warm, but they're not hot anymore. Look at all the meatballs in here. This is fantastic. Good amount of seasoning. There's oregano, tastes like there might be some thyme, garlic, black pepper. That is a lot of meat. There's a good chew on the meatballs. The sauce is a more natural homemade tasting sauce than you get with SpaghettiOs or beefaroni or something like that. This is something like you might be served at somebody's house. Except most people, if they're getting trouble to make meatballs, they'd make them bigger because it'd be a lot of work making all these small ones, but they're very good. Cobbler's got a little bit of crust there mixed in with it. You can get yourself a menu number 8. And if you like meatballs, you're going to like that. Wow, what a nice blending of the two fruits, the blueberries and the cherries. That is a good dessert. So now you've got to look at what's going on with MREs. If you like the video, please hit like. Look at the description. I will put a link to the labs. I'll also put a link to the Defense Logistics Agency showing the different menus for the different years. If you've got any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. Thanks again for looking, and we'll see you next time.